Welcome to Nkandla, a private residential property in the hills of KwaZulu-Natal belonging to then-President Jacob Zuma. Between 2009 and 2014, the South African state spent 246 million rand upgrading this private home. The swimming pool was reclassified as a fire pool. The amphitheatre was classified as a security feature. The cattle kraal was a security feature. The chicken run was a security feature. The visitor center was a security feature. At some point, someone decided that nearly everything on a private presidential estate could be classified as a security feature. That someone was working for the government. The government was spending your money. One fire pool. The story of how a swimming pool in KwaZulu-Natal became a constitutional court case that changed South African democracy. Shall we?
The swimming pool. Built at Nkandla at public expense. When questions arose about why a swimming pool was being built at a private presidential home using public funds, an explanation was provided. The explanation was, it is not a swimming pool. It is a fire pool. It is there to provide water for fire prevention purposes. This is the official explanation. It was put in writing, it was submitted to Parliament, it was defended. The pool has a lilo in it. Pool toys are present. The nearest unattended fire is in a field with no pool nearby. The firefighter at the pool's edge has several professional questions. Not the 246 million rand, though that matters. Not the constitutional court ruling, though that matters more. Because a government that will call a swimming pool a fire pool with a straight face will call anything, anything.
The Nkandla story begins in 2009. The Department of Public Works is tasked with security upgrades to the president's private residence in KwaZulu-Natal. The initial estimate? 27 million rand. Security upgrades to a presidential home are legitimate. Heads of state need protection. The problem is not that upgrades happened. The problem is what the upgrades became, and the gap between the legitimate security need and what was eventually built. 27 million rand becomes 65 million rand. 65 million rand becomes 246 million rand. Each revision is approved. Each scope expansion is signed off. At some point, the swimming pool appears on the plans. At some point, someone classifies it as a fire pool. At some point, nobody says stop. The paper trail stretches from 2009 to 2013. It is a long trail. Every document on it is signed.
Here is the itemized receipt. Swimming pool, 14 million rand, classified as a fire pool. Amphitheatre, 3.5 million rand, entertainment security. Cattle kraal, 5.8 million rand, security feature. Chicken run, 1.2 million rand, also a security feature. Visitor center, 12 million rand. Relatives quarters, an additional house, 18 million rand. Underground parking, 9 million rand. Tuck shop, 700,000 rand, classified as security retail. The tuck shop is a security feature. This is the official classification. Total, 246 million rand. Funded by the South African taxpayer. Approved by multiple departments. Each line signed off. Each classification formal. The receipt exists. It is public record. The taxpayer in the hard hat is reading the tuck shop line. He has read it 3 times. The classification says security retail. He reads it a 4th time. It still says security retail.
2012. A journalist is standing outside the Nkandla perimeter fence. She can see construction over the wall. She writes down her question. She begins making calls. City Press publishes. The headline lands. In Parliament, the opposition holds up the newspaper. The ANC benches find the ceiling very interesting. The Speaker's chair waits for the moment to pass. The moment does not pass. The questions do not go away. More journalists begin calling. More documents are requested. More officials are asked to explain the tuck shop classification. The story is out. The receipt is public. The fire pool has been named. The next question is, what happens when a government is asked to account for a swimming pool it called a fire pool? The Public Protector, a Chapter 9 institution, constitutionally independent of the executive. Its mandate: to investigate improper conduct in state affairs and strengthen democratic accountability. Thuli Madonsela, Public Protector from 2009 to 2016, opens an investigation into the Nkandla upgrades. Her office is small, underfunded, and constitutionally required to be independent of the president whose home she is investigating. On one side of the constitutional line, a woman with a file, a mandate, and access to every document related to Nkandla. On the other, a president who is deciding how seriously to take the investigation. The constitutional line between them is thin. It is unbroken. For now, it holds. The investigation continues. March 2014. Thuli Madonsela releases the Secure in Comfort report. The findings? The president benefited unduly. The swimming pool, amphitheatre, cattle kraal, chicken run, and visitor center were not security related. The president must pay back a reasonable portion. The presidency's response? The report is not binding. The president is not obliged to comply with the public protector's remedial action. The presidency has legal advice supporting this position. The position is wrong, but they hold it. Parliament, with its ANC majority, adopts a different report, the Nkandla Ad Hoc Committee report, which largely exonerates Zuma. The fire pool sign gains the endorsement, confirmed by committee. The opposition sits in the posture of people who expected this and are still genuinely appalled. This is where the story moves from a scandal about a swimming pool to a constitutional crisis about whether the president of South Africa must obey the law. The Constitutional Court is next. Parliament becomes the arena. The EFF, newly elected in 2014, arrives with a specific question for every question time. When will you pay back the money? The question is simple. Getting an answer is not. The signal jammer. On at least one famous occasion, cell phone signals in the National Assembly are blocked during the Nkandla debates. Every phone shows no signal. The IT technician under the desk is doing maintenance. This is the official explanation. The opposition takes the matter to the Constitutional Court. When Parliament cannot hold the executive accountable, the courts must. The Constitutional Court building is solid, dignified, unmoved by signal jammers. Its doors are open. The case is coming. The court has been waiting for it. March 31, 2016. The Constitutional Court delivers a unanimous judgment. The Public Protector's remedial action was binding. It had the force of law from the moment it was issued. The president failed to uphold, defend, and respect the Constitution. The National Assembly failed in its constitutional duty to hold the executive accountable. Both failures are on record. Both are findings of the highest court in the land. In the gallery, Thuli Madonsela. Her expression is quiet vindication, not triumph, but the specific expression of someone who was right and waited for the right institution to say so. The Constitution glows in the window behind the bench. The taxpayer in the hard hat nods. The swimming pool was never a fire pool. The Public Protector's report was binding from day one. The President of South Africa violated his oath of office. The Constitutional Court said so, unanimously.
Following the Constitutional Court ruling, Zuma eventually pays back $7,846,619.97 rand, the amount determined by the National Treasury as the non-security portion of the upgrades. The payment is made. The swimming pool is still there. The amphitheatre is still there. The cattle kraal is still there. The tuck shop is still there. The full homestead, all upgrades intact, remains. This is because the court ordered repayment, not demolition. The fire pool sign has been updated with additional text. It still says fire pool. It will always say fire pool. The sign has taken on the permanence of mythology. The taxpayer in the hard hat stands outside the gate of the intact, fully upgraded, privately owned homestead. He looks at the fire pool sign. He looks at the camera. It is still called a fire pool. October 2016. Thili Madonsela's 7-year non-renewable term ends. She leaves the public protector's office with the Nkandla report under one arm and the preliminary state capture report under the other. She has spent her term doing exactly what the Constitution requires. Her successor is appointed. The public protector's office enters a different chapter, one defined by legal challenges, findings reversed on review, and a tenure that ends early and in controversy. The constitutional institution remains. Its exercise of the mandate changes. The fire pool sign is still there. It will always be there. Some signs become permanent. Some moments of official dishonesty achieve a kind of immortality, not because they were the worst thing that happened, but because they were the most precisely named. The punchline of Nkandla is not the swimming pool. It is that the institution which exposed it was the exception. The Constitution held, in the Constitutional Court, through the public protector, with a 7-year term and a small office. That time, it held.
Nkandla. Nighttime. The pool is still. The fire pool sign is moonlit and weathered, but legible. The taxpayer and the firefighter sit at the pool's edge with their feet in the water and look at the sign. Everything is still here. The swimming pool, the amphitheatre, the cattle kraal, the tuck shop, security retail, closed for the night. All of it intact. All of it exactly as it was built, with 246 million rand of public money. The taxpayer says it is still called a fire pool. The firefighter says, I know. There is a long pause. The taxpayer says, the Constitution held, though. The firefighter says, the Constitution held. Nkandla. One swimming pool. One sign that will never come down. One constitutional court ruling that said the law applies to everyone, including the president. One public protector who did her job in a small office with a constitutional mandate and 7 years. Mzansi Eina. Because somebody has to say it.